Welcome back to another special episode of Wrist Check Podcast. The dynamic duo has returned from Geneva, Switzerland.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, back in from Watches and Wonders. Allow us to introduce ourselves. My name is Perri.
And I'm Rashawn.
And this is WCP Weekly.
Yes.
A special Watches and Wonders recap. Obviously, we just got back. You'll be seeing this in almost real time. This is releasing this Saturday. Would have loved to have brought you an episode on Wednesday as we typically do, but we are jet lagged.
Yes.
I am still recovering. Watches and Wonders is not just the time difference you have to deal with, right?
Yeah.
It's like all the festivities.
A lot of festivities.
Yeah, and we were very busy. It's the kind of thing where like you spend a lot of time at the trade show and then there's dinners, happy hours, parties.
Yes.
Then you get back to your hotel room and it's like 5 a.m. and you got to wake up in 4 hours and do it all over again.
4 hours, more like 2 hours.
Yeah. So we had a lot of fun, but it's certainly good to be home.
Yes.
We saw a lot of great watches, hung out with a lot of great people. Shout out to N.O.R.E.
Yes.
Who was in the building at Palexpo.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a guest of Rashawn. Mm-hmm. He came out to Switzerland to do a factory tour. There was even a video of him. You know, so when you go to the factory tours,
Yeah.
and you've experienced this, they you put on the whole getup, right? You get the lab coat. Sometimes they make you wear like one of those little like net shower cap things.
Yeah.
And then you put on like these little booties.
Yeah.
Right? That go over your shoes so you don't track dirt inside and throughout the plant where the watchmakers work. And so N.O.R.E. posted a video. I don't know who taped it. I know he was here with friends and his wife. Maybe his wife taped it. Shout out to N.O.R.E. And he had his booties on some Timbs.
Yeah. Booties on some boots.
Yeah, it's crazy. Though my brother lives in Miami, he still keeps it very New York.
Yes.
Shout out to him. But definitely one of the highlights for me, just seeing how happy he was.
Yeah.
And he was literally like a kid in a candy shop. It was nice to see.
He was smiling from ear to ear.
Ear to ear the whole time.
The whole time.
Yeah.
It was great.
And he got to meet some of his favorite social media starlets in the watch world.
Yeah.
Hung out with Nico and even Mike Nouveau.
Yes.
Stopped by. Mm-hmm. Shout out to WCP alumni Fremstar.
Yes.
Who was also in the building. Mm-hmm. We'll share some photos and videos of all of those interactions. But I had a good time, man.
Had a really, really good time. Also, too, since we're, throwing a couple star-studded names out there, we got to see Michael Friedman's... Okay.
We can't talk about that.
Ooh.
Shout out to Michael Friedman. We saw nothing.
We saw nothing.
We saw absolutely nothing.
Yes.
I don't know what you're talking about, dog.
Okay.
Mum's the word.
Yes.
But we did hang out with Michael Friedman.
We did.
And what I will say is he is someone that is always working creatively and tinkering.
Yes.
And that never stops.
No, it doesn't.
And so at some point, whenever he's ready, you may see something out of the world of Michael Friedman. But what I love about him just as a creative is that he's on his own time.
Yes.
When he's ready, he'll share whatever he wants to share with the world. Mm-hmm. And we've been fortunate enough to develop a relationship with him. We bounce around ideas and talk art, engineering, watches all the time. And he shares a lot with us.
Yes, he does.
And so I'll leave it at that. All right, you guys, let's talk about something every watch collector can relate to. When you're on the hunt for the piece, you slid into DMs, combed through the forums, maybe even hit up a friend of a friend, and still nothing.
And that's where Bezel comes in. It's not just another marketplace. It's where tech meets tradition. Whether you're after a Rolex sub or independent grail, Bezel has tens of thousands of authenticated listings waiting for you. And if the watch isn't listed yet, no worries. Just add the model to your wish list and Bezel hits you with real-time notifications the moment something drops.
And for those of you who don't have time to obsess over listings 24/7, Bezel's got a concierge team that can source the watch for you. They basically take all the stress out of the process so you can just enjoy the watch on your wrist.
Plus, for sellers, Guarantee sales in just a few days. Thanks to the auction feature, it's a win-win, whether you're buying or selling.
So if you're ready to make your next move in this watch game, hit up Bezel, and trust me, you'll wish you'd done it sooner. Before we continue, we have to have our honorary wrist check.
I was waiting for it.
Were you?
I was waiting for it. I was wondering if you was going to skip it.
No, not going to skip
You
it.
can't skip this one.
Can't skip this one.
You know what? We got to break tradition. I think you need to start.
I'll start.
Yes.
I'll go first. So
This is big.
if you don't follow me on Instagram, I got a new watch this week. And I was not prepared for this. This was not something I was prepared for. We had a recording with a really dear friend just a few days before we left for Geneva, Switzerland. And I won't say who that friend is just now because I don't want to spoil it, because that episode is actually a really cool episode that we crafted with him that's coming out soon. And but he is in the AP family. And if you've been watching the show, I've made a couple of jokes before about, I think if you're watching, you know I love AP as a company. I love the culture.
Yes.
I'm familiar with a couple of folks that work with the company, and we have a decent professional relationship. Whenever I'm in their company, I feel welcomed. I feel at home. I feel like family. And that's never changed. But I did make a joke that, you know, it's the one authorized dealer or brand that I spend time with where I always have a good time, always treated nicely, but I never get offered a watch. And so upon leaving, he says, you know, you should have an AP. You know, you're part of the family. And he was like, what are you after? And I told him a couple of pieces. And I said, you know, preferably I would like this. And he sends me a text message the next day and he's like, it's done. They're going to call you in 3 hours. And I was like, whoa.
Yes.
Way to call my bluff. Now I got to pony up. And so we made it happen. I actually completed it while I was in Geneva. And so upon returning home, I was able to not only walk in and see, you know, my family, who I missed, but there was a watch waiting for me. And so tonight I'm wearing a Audemars Piguet Royal Oak, stainless steel, 15510
Yes.
ST,
Don't hurt him.
blue dial.
Very nice.
It is very nice. It's a 41 millimeter, time and date, classic.
Classic.
This is the current model. Yeah, this was not in my 2025 cards.
It wasn't, but it came at the right time. I think, you know, for as hard as, you know, we've worked, especially yourself, coming off a high in Geneva to come home to, you know, because we do spend a lot of time away from our families. We spend a lot of time away from our loved ones. And to come off this high, this amazing trip, to then come home to your family, have a great time, and then bring a new watch into the fold.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I mean, it's like a three-peat.
Felt like Christmas.
Felt like Christmas, huh?
Yeah, it really did. It was nice to know that it was there waiting for me. And you know, I do think maybe I should have gone to pick it up. It would have been nice to have that experience. Because AP really does go all out for their clients. I know several AP collectors, they love the company. And I think it all kind of boils down to company culture. We even did the episode about, you know, top 10 or black-owned watch companies. And we got to talk a little about Oliver Audemars, who is a black gentleman who's part of the family and on the board of directors for AP. And so AP's always been a brand that has been in step and in line with the culture. It feels right, you know? I mean, I'm even contemplating maybe like selling the whole collection, just only collect the AP at this point.
You know, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the reason why this one hits differently is because obviously, you know, you got your AP allocation.
Yeah.
So this isn't your first AP. So this is a flex.
Yeah, this is crazy. So I did own a vintage one for some time.
Yeah.
And but this is my first allocation from the brand, and it just feels nice to be appreciated. I was hanging out at AP House yesterday, checking out some new timepieces. I got to handle the new perpetual calendars, which I have to admit are incredibly impressive. I was skeptical initially about how you'd be able to manipulate that complication through the crown, but they've really made it dummy proof. It is kind of like an Apple approach to a user experience with a perpetual calendar. And so I was very, very impressed. But I ultra feel part of the family now. It's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also good too, because you go to see the novelties and you're like, yes.
It was a nice feeling. Shout out to Tantan, who was in the building. Ben Clymer even passed through. He was wearing an RD2, which was beautiful.
Yes.
And a whole host of friends and family were also in the building yesterday, and everyone's kind of congratulating me on the allocation. So that was really nice.
It's huge.
You are wearing a new watch.
Newish, because depending on where we are in time, this may be new.
It's still a new watch.
It's still a new watch. Yes. So this is one of the new ads that I added to the collection. I'm wearing the modern version of the Speedmaster. Hesselite, of course, because you have to go, with the NASA flight qualified. And with my fit today, I decided to go, NASA employee from the 1950s.
NASA employees / you look like you had a good day in the stock market.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't say the same for others. I definitely took a beating.
Oh, man.
So I love the watch. I love that you got the Hesselite version.
Yes.
I like to keep things OG.
Yes.
Speedmaster, I am a proud owner of a vintage piece. It's the gift that keeps on giving. I think it's probably my favorite chronograph, even more so than Rolex Daytona.
Yeah.
Just the novelty, the history that's there and wrapped up in that. I mean, just to be able to say you have a moon watch, I think is pretty cool. And to be honest, it's also just a really handsome watch.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
You could dress it up. You could dress it down. I did say that I think this is probably one of the best commercially available watches you can buy today.
For sure. I couldn't disagree with that. All right, let's be real. Buying watches can be a little stressful. You're navigating through a sea of listings, wondering if that mint condition piece is really mint, hoping you're not about to drop some serious cash on something sketchy.
Into Bezel. These guys built a platform where every watch goes through an authentication process. We're talking old school watchmakers who know their stuff, checking every detail. They even smell the papers. And no, I'm not kidding.
And here's the kicker. Bezel isn't just for seasoned collectors. Whether you're spending $1,000 or $100,000, they've got a high-touch concierge service that will guide you through the entire process. You get a real human interaction, not some chatbot giving you the runaround.
And if you're selling, their auction platform guarantees a sale in days, not months. So whether you're adding or offloading, Bezel makes sure it's smooth sailing.
So next time you're eyeing that dream piece or looking to make room for a new one, check out Bezel. They've taken the hassle out of collecting so you can just enjoy the journey. All right, so getting back to Watches and Wonders, it was a trip, man. We also threw a hell of a party. I want to give a big shout out to Ulysse Nardin.
Yes.
Who we threw a barbecue with just outside of Geneva in more rural area at a kind of like a farmhouse / winery.
Yeah.
And we had a DJ. Shout out to Aisha,
Yes.
FX, Romaine, and Mathieu.
Yes.
For working with us to help put this together. Aisha played a big role in this and really helped us knock it out the park. And people turned up. Roman was in the building. You guys are doing a little kid and play action.
Little kid and play action. That would be fun.
I think he even busted out a freestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might have that on tape. But it was a lot of fun.
It was.
And it was like a really great capstone
Yes.
to Geneva.
Yes.
So shout out to all those people. And really, I have to say, too, just honorable mention in terms of the trade show, I think UN had the best booth in the building.
For sure.
And I'm not just saying that because we have a close relationship with them. I think just in terms of the perfect marriage between art, design, engineering, and culture, they really created something that was out of this world for that world.
Yes.
And I always do kind of enjoy going into the different booths because you get to step in and have like a brand experience. I think too many brands try to emulate what feels like a retail sort of like venue or space, but some really do knock it out the park with like giving you like a full 360 brand immersive experience. UN, I think, nailed it. Roger Dubuis did a really good job. Their booth was really fun.
Yes.
I think also IWC, shout out to them.
Yes.
With the F1 cars in the mix from the new film with Brad Pitt that's coming out this summer. That was crazy.
Dope.
So shout out to all of them because that made it a lot of fun.
It did. It did.
Okay, so going into some of our favorite picks at Watches and Wonders. So what we've done tonight, we've kind of broken down things into several categories. And it would be interesting to hear in the comments section, maybe some categories we hadn't listed that you think should be mentioned. So if you're watching or listening, comment and let us know what you think might have been some of the best picks in these categories that we present or any category that you would like to nominate yourself. So we're going to get started with best bracelet.
Yeah.
Take the floor, my man.
I'm gonna have to go with the JLC tribute in the rose gold.
Okay. That was the Milanese bracelet that they did, right?
Milanese bracelet. It felt very like medieval and like vintage, but still had that modern twist with like that beautiful rose gold color.
Yep.
Because the rose that they kind of like, that alloy that they manipulated, it seems like it was like futuristic in terms of like you need certain kind of technologies to get that kind of impression.
Okay.
And so, you know, obviously JLC has been rolling, you know, with a lot of steam with the reversal and kind of, you know, stamping their history, being introduced in the 1930s, and then doubling down on that with this like beautiful timepiece and then adding complications as well. But for sure, I had to say that was probably one of my favorite, or I'd say the best for me, timepiece that I seen on bracelet.
I thought it was really good. I mean, I can't argue with you on that. I had a different choice, but it's certainly not the wrong choice. I mean, I think it really could go either way. I was also considering them. Shout out to JLC. That was a really beautiful piece.
Yeah.
To me, it reminded me not of the ellipse that we saw last year on bracelet, but it gave me the same feeling and satisfaction that I had when I saw that watch.
I agree.
There was another watch that gave me sort of the same feeling and satisfaction and came as a bit of a surprise for me. And so I listed them as best bracelet. And I don't often list Rolex, but I have to say the 1908.
Yeah.
I thought, you know, this was a model that was introduced 2 years ago at Watches and Wonders, and they got rid of the Cellini line for this line. And I thought it was a really handsome piece, but I was skeptical about how this would perform. And it hasn't performed that well, if we're being honest, with retailers. People aren't really looking for that. They're not on the list for that. It's definitely for a certain kind of clientele. But I think the bracelet with this new yellow gold version could be a big game changer. And it's a vintage inspired bracelet. It's a Settimo bracelet, and it also has a concealed clasp with the Rolex crown on it, which I think was really nice, like a Super Jubilee.
Yeah.
And it's got curved end links,
Yes.
which I really like. And so it doesn't, the end links don't touch the case. And it's very elegant, but also kind of a surprise for me from Rolex. I didn't expect them to do anything that sophisticated. It's nice to know that they still have tricks like that up their sleeve. It was a very Patek move
Yes.
on their part. And you don't often see them introduce new bracelets That's not a thing we've seen for a long time. This is a new bracelet.
Yes.
And not one in their catalog I can think of inspired by an older piece. There are definitely other bracelets that are similar to this from back in the day, but this is entirely new for the brand. And I thought it was executed very well.
Yeah, it was.
It's a beautiful timepiece. And it brings a level of elegance and luxury to the brand. And many will argue that it's already an elegant and luxurious brand. But for me, in my world, I know Rolex for the sports models.
Yes.
Right? And so there's a blend between sports and luxury, tool watch and luxury. And here's a piece in a line that hasn't drummed up a lot of excitement. Or I said the line hasn't drummed up a lot of excitement, but this piece is drumming up a lot of excitement. And I think it's well deserved.
I'd have to agree 100% because, for them to kind of dig deep into their archives and kind of go into that old design, especially too with like the idea of an integrated bracelet, right? Which they did introduce one as well.
Sure, with the land dweller.
But to go ahead and kind of have the bracelet separate from the case, it feels very, very like, it almost feels a little more personalized. Like because you do have the option of putting it on the strap as well. So it feels like you're free to do whatever you want with this watch itself. Then, we know like original manufactured parts, etc., to be, especially in Rolex, like it's frowned upon if you change your bracelet, if you change the strap, or if you choose any other options. Like this
that's a really great point.
It felt a little free.
It did, because you can easily go from strap to bracelet with this watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's an excellent point.
Yeah.
Shout out to Rolex.
Yeah.
They released a bunch of other watches too. Everyone was really excited about the new GMTs. Yeah, I wasn't like, though I do have to say that Tiger iron dial in the root beer GMT is a nice touch.
A little 50-50 on it.
Okay. Next, the next category is best precious metal timepiece. What do you got for me?
I'm gonna go honey gold Longa Odysseus.
Okay. Yeah.
I always love when Longa introduces like anything in honey gold.
Sure.
And I think
because last year they did the Datograph.
Yes. Right? They did.
Yeah. And it was a Datograph perpetual.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what I like that they actually decided to tap into the Odysseus, because the Odysseus I kind of feel like is, I don't want to say the stepchild, it's definitely the one that's overlooked, right? You always think of the Longa one, you think of the Datograph, you think of the Zeitwerk, you think of Saxonia, right? Because I think maybe was it last year that they kind of doubled down on the Saxonia as well, with different like dial options, adding the Aventurine and those kind of things. So the Odysseus kind of like fell to the back, especially because it was supposed to be their, I don't know if you want to call it the professional model, but definitely one outside of like their dressier pieces.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the Odysseus, actually. It's one of my favorite watches in their catalog. And this, I thought, I was equally as impressed.
Yeah.
It was definitely something that we were talking about leading up to it, because we had heard that this was coming. And, but still very much a surprise and a bold move, I think, for Longa to do a watch like this in honey gold. And I think from what I've heard thus far, the reception has been really warm.
Yes.
Right? Collectors like it. Enthusiasts think it's hot. We got to see it in person. It's an incredibly handsome timepiece. And I wouldn't mind owning one. And the honey gold it's a really nice shade of like rose yellow gold. It's like a nice blend. It's very warm. It doesn't lean on either side too much. It's kind of like right in the middle. It's almost like a patinaed yellow gold.
Yes.
And with the brown dial, I thought was just
a hit.
It was great. I didn't select that one, but it was also in the runnings.
Yes.
I actually had a hard time with this one. And so what I chose for best precious metal timepiece was the Cartier Tank Guichet.
Yes.
And the reason why is because the watch is really all case, right? You just got 2 windows. It's jump hour, right? And so what you have is a brushed precious metal case in platinum, white gold, and yellow gold. All of them amazing. The yellow gold was my favorite though.
Yes.
And it's brushed. And I kind of like that kind of like matte sheen finish on a precious metal timepiece. It also does something that's really interesting where it balances a kind of like masculine, sporty flair with something super elegant and sophisticated and even a little feminine, right? And I just thought it was executed so well. You've got the beveled edges on the side, the beveled edges in the windows, just executed flawlessly. And I was like, this is a piece I could get behind because it's all precious metal.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought it was a home run.
I definitely have to say they hit it out the park. And to your point, it does have a bit of like an industrial feel with that brush finishing. You know, it made me think of a friend of ours, Reginald Sylvester.
Shout out to Reggie.
Shout out to Reggie, because he kind of does a bit of like, of course he does some leather work and some other things, but then when he does like those industrial art pieces,
sure,
I kind of thought of him, and it felt very artisanal.
Okay,
and you couldn't really place a moment in time where that watch existed to me. I felt like it was still.
So that's actually a really good point.
Yeah.
So I think it is a reiteration or reintroduction of this design.
Yes.
From 1929, but it doesn't feel like a watch that existed at that time period.
No,
it doesn't at all. It feels like something that it is hard to place. It's like, what was the time period for this piece here? And I think it was smart of Cartier. I think what Cartier does exceptionally well is they have a long history of amazing timepieces and jewelry, right? And I love that they like to kind of dip back into the archives and bring things out. But for some reason, what they're really good at is timing. And it's just like year after year, they do some new things that are cool, but they also find these amazing pieces in their back catalog, and they're like, let's release this now.
Yeah.
And it's always like at the perfect time. Just to note, there was a Santos Dumont collection that they did, paying tribute to Alberto Santos Dumont, with 3 dial variations, kind of emphasizing him as a pilot and the idea that the Santos Dumont watch was a sports watch. And so they did a dial in bronze, a linen dial, and a wood dial that I thought was really awesome. There's also this, I always butcher this word because I don't speak French, but the Maitre art collection. They did one with a panther with these like really beautiful gold foil leaves above the dial. I mean, Cartier knocked it out the park again. It was magnificent. Shout out to them.
Yes, for sure.
The next category is Best Dial.
Yes.
And I have a sneaky suspicion we probably chose the same watch. But we'll see. I'll let you go. Maybe. I don't know.
I went for the Zenith.
Okay, so we did not choose the same.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
I went for the Zenith GF. What is it? GFJ.
Yep.
Blue lapis dial. Really, really cool. I think that, you know, when it comes to stone dials, right, you can kind of see that like same like one trick pony kind of like deal. But they kind of added something different with like this like blocking. I don't know if it's guilloche, but like this like blocking on the chapter ring.
Sure.
On the outside, which like adds texture, but then inside it has like that beautiful like blue lapis dial.
Yeah.
I think it worked perfectly just with like the dial layout.
Okay.
you know, it being like just simple, time only, don't give it more than it has to be. Just like let it exist.
I thought it was a really cool watch. I thought it was very handsome. I thought it was a great piece to showcase what Zenith is capable of. Zenith is always kind of reminding me of like the little engine that could.
Yes.
Right? Like they deserve far more credit than they get. They have an amazing heritage. And it's also nice to see them kind of dip back into their catalog and bring pieces out to be able to tell you some story. And I thought that piece was awesome. The movement was equally as beautiful.
Yes.
In that timepiece.
Yes.
Some great finishing there. But yeah, shout out to Zenith. That wasn't my choice. I had to go with our friends over at H. Moser, and they did a pop stone dial collection.
Yeah.
With the Endeavor line. You had it was a lot of variety because you had several different like stone color combinations that they did. And you had some time onlys, you had some tourbillons, and you had a couple minute repeaters.
Yeah.
And it was the kind of thing, like I remember when I first saw the drop, I saw photos of it and I didn't realize they were stone.
Yeah.
I didn't read it. I just saw the image on Instagram and I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
I thought it was enamel and stone. Then it was like stone on stone.
I just thought it was a painted dial.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, that's cool. And then we had a party with them where we invited some collectors through. And shout out to Edward, who was in attendance. And he was wearing one of the watches on his wrist. And I stood and took a picture with him. Then we did a wrist shot. And I saw the watch and I was like, holy this is stone.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah. And then he told me, he was like, we've been talking about this all day with people. A lot of people don't realize from the photos that it's stone.
Yeah.
So he was like, we got some work to do there. But when you see them in person, and we got to also see them at Palexpo, they were awesome.
You're great.
Yeah. I thought this was like, and you know, there was some debate whether or not like stone dials would be dead in 2025. Clearly they're not.
They're not.
Right? Like it's even, I think companies are diving deeper into stone dials, and but a really new, innovative, and interesting twist on stone dials. I think coming from Moser, which should come as no surprise because they're always innovating in terms of design. So shout out to those guys. I thought that they had the best dial.
I have to agree.
For Watches of Wonders.
I have to agree.
So you're turning back on your Zenith choice?
No, I'm gonna still stick with my Zenith choice, but I think, you know, we kind of channeled the same energy there.
Sure. The next category is biggest surprise.
Yes.
I'm interested to see what you have here.
I don't know if it's a big surprise because this brand continues to just like smash, you know, accuracy.
Okay.
Like in terms of just like reliability, accuracy, like you just gotta stop trying to compete. Everybody's trying to compete. You know, we won't throw anybody under the bus, but this like innovation of this escapement, sure, if that's what you want to call it, that's okay. But you kind of catch my drift. I'm gonna go with Grand Seiko and the UFA.
Okay.
I mean, this timepiece, you know, loses or is plus minus 20 seconds a year.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
That's wild.
That's pretty wild.
Like, you know, and these guys have continued to do it, you know, as much as, you know, people try to bag on quartz, like, you know, they made the most accurate timepiece in digital and in quartz, right? They turn around, they introduce a hybrid with the spring drive movement, and then you come in, bring in a watch that beats at a high frequency in the high beat.
Yeah.
So like they're just like, you know, Barry Bonds just like smashing, you know, records, you know, at an alarming rate. And so with like this UFA, what I really enjoyed about Grand Seiko and their releases as well is they kind of listen to, you know, the background chatter and them releasing so many watches.
There hasn't been a whole lot of releases this year.
No more limited editions in the middle of like a Tuesday.
Less is more.
Less is more.
Yeah.
And so they kind of like consolidated it all to kind of bring this piece. And although it may look like every other Grand Seiko that has been around, this one on a technological standpoint has definitely, tested those bounds.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, we love Grand Seiko. I thought, I don't know if this was a surprise for me. I kind of expect Grand Seiko to do stuff like this.
Yeah.
But it was nice to for them to kind of take to pull back some this year.
Yes.
And then to focus on delivering something high quality, high value.
Very, very high quality.
And so shout out to those guys. I am interested in seeing what else they have planned for us this year. It's almost like, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yes.
Like first it was too much. Now it's like, I kind of miss them.
Yeah.
What do you got cooking? I'm interested in seeing what's going on because it's a great brand. Listen,
Yes.
I mean, as someone who loves just the Seiko house, the beautiful thing about that brand is that there is so much variety, and they do have their own design language, and they do have their own pillars in terms of what matters to them, not only from a design perspective, but from functionality and to, end user experience. Mm-hmm. And you have to appreciate that. You have to appreciate a brand that is so intertwined within their brand identity that even if they just deliver you product on top of product on top of product, they never sacrifice or waver their soul, who they are. Mm-hmm. They don't follow trends.
Yes.
It's not their thing. They do what they do and that's it. And you have to appreciate Grand Seiko for that.
Yeah.
My biggest surprise might come as a surprise because it wasn't a great release.
Okay.
Well, there are two releases here.
Okay.
So I'm going to put in a twofer, right? And so one was a surprise in terms of like, who the hell asked for this?
Yes.
And the other was a surprise where it was kind of like, I definitely asked for this.
Okay, I think I know I think I know the first one.
Okay,
go ahead.
It's the same brand. It's Tudor.
Yes, I figured.
Who the hell asked for a 43 millimeter Black Bay with the Black Bay 68?
Yes.
I was really thrown off by that.
Yes.
But apparently people want it. Fremstar, shout out to Fremstar, got one of the first ones.
Yes.
Very surprised.
Very surprised.
Shout out to him. And if you follow Fremstar, and you should, he's one of the best collectors in the game right now doing it.
Yes.
Is an anonymous collector. He doesn't share his identity, but he shares his watches, and he's got heavy hitters. And what I love about his collection is that he not only collects like the top of the top stuff, but he's like he just loves watches. And so he collects everything in between as well. Mm-hmm. You'll see him with like an Omega Moon Swatch. You'll also see him, rocking a Black Bay 68 apparently, in addition to like, I think he just got like some new crazy Patek Complication piece maybe a month ago.
Yeah.
But he was wearing it in a video he posted. I was really surprised. But it was kind of a head scratcher. I was like, okay, is there a market for this?
Yeah.
Fremstar proves that there is.
Yes.
The other release that they did, which came as a really pleasant surprise, was the red Black Bay 58.
Yes.
Which we got to try on. Heater. I mean, knocked it out the park.
Yes.
Because if you know, this references one of the older Tudor subs that is kind of like a deep cut and a highly sought after piece from Tudor collectors. And so they reintroduced that. And so you've got this bright red dial, right, with the aluminum bright red bezel. And it's a hot watch available on both their like Oyster and their Jubilee-ish kind of bracelets. Incredibly handsome, fire piece. Yeah. I loved it.
Yeah, I have to agree. Because when you look at the original, I think that watch might have released between 1996 or 1997. But if you look at that watch and you put it next to its modern counterpart, it is identical.
It is.
And Tudor's one of those brands that they're always able to keep you interested. Right. And so with them, giving the people kind of what they wanted. Because like you said, the original Tudor sub in red is one that is heavily like sought after outside of like that blue on blue Tudor sub as well. But for them to actually listen to the background noise, which actually is very, very low.
There wasn't a lot of people asking for this.
It wasn't a lot of people asking for it.
But it's sort of like the right people asking for it,
Yes.
knowing that everyone else is going to love it.
Which that is a big surprise that Tudor is able to actually do that.
Yeah, no, they keep their ear to the streets.
Oh, for sure.
They do that really well.
Yeah, Mike will hop outside.
Yeah, so is Cole Pennington. Shout out to those guys.
Yes.
And shout out to Cole for inviting us in to kind of check out those watches. That was really nice of him.
Yes, it was.
The next category is best complication.
Yes.
I had some trouble with this and how I wanted to approach this. So what I like that's happening right now in watches is that complications are becoming more accessible.
Yes.
And so when I think of complications from an accessibility perspective, I think about what's useful. Mm-hmm. And so I decided, now there was a whole host of amazing complications from all kinds of brands, especially hot horology brands. I decided to focus on something that was more accessible. So Nomos released the Club Sport World Timer.
Fire.
It was a heater. Different colors. You've got your main time display. You've got the cities around the dial. There's a button at like 2 o'clock. When you push that in, it rotates to the city that you're in at 12. A sub-seconds dial at 6 o'clock. And then at 3 o'clock, it's got your home time, which is also AM, PM indicator. This is an incredibly useful complication for people who are on the go and travel. I love travel time watches. I love dual time watches. I love GMTs. It retails for under $5,000.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I have to agree.
This is perpetual calendars are one thing.
Yes.
Shout out to Frederic Constant for delivering a perpetual calendar for under $10,000. Amazing.
Yes.
But when you think of useful complications, you think about the Zurich that they did. I mean, I think that was what, $6,000 or $7,000.
Yeah.
Right? And so to deliver a more compact, user-friendly version of that timepiece, less intimidating in terms of presentation for under $5,000, home run.
For sure. To that point, you're able to add a complication that usually isn't accessible, because if you look at most world times, unless maybe you're looking at a brand like Frederic Constant, right? Like world time for Frederic Constant, I think it's maybe between like 7 and 10K.
Yeah.
Anything past that, you're looking at least 20.
Yeah, you're looking at 20 and up.
You're looking at 20 and up for a world time.
Yeah.
So for them to be able to give a world time at, sub 5K, I think is very, very impressive. And then it kind of has this like infectious, like you just always want to hit that button. That has a nice, satisfying like snap to it.
Very, very nice.
Which is very, very fun.
Yeah.
So I actually enjoyed that. So I have to say that was a great choice. And now looking at my choice, I kind of feel like you went for the most useful, and then I go for the one, my favorite complication was the one that was like the most useless. Yeah. But I absolutely love this watch, and I went with the Patek Philippe 5308G.
Okay, respect.
Minute repeating, split second, chrono perpetual.
Yeah, no one needs that.
No one needs it.
But it's nice.
But it's very nice.
Sure.
What I love about the watch is the idea of, the split second perpetual, which obviously isn't foreign, but adding that minute repeater, it being Patek, like Patek being, I think one of the brands that now has kind of stepped into like being the master of complications, adding different like tricks to the bag, like, putting those 3 complications together, like, not necessary at all, but like it still works in its own way, which I really, really enjoy. Who doesn't love a mini repeater? And like, it's so cool to see a split second kind of go when you hit it.
For sure.
One event after another, and then everybody likes to do that like cool little X and like, oh, look at this. So I thought that was fun. So that was my choice. Not necessarily necessary, but necessary.
Great complication nonetheless. Protect had a
mention.
really good offering this year.
Yes.
We're down to our final 3 categories.
Yes.
The next one, and we'll run through these quickly. The next one is Best Gem Set. Mm-hmm. Who do you have?
Ooh, that one is tough because there were some really, really, really good gem set pieces. I don't know. You got to come back to me on that one.
Okay. I chose the Chanel J12 Blue X-Ray.
Yes.
That was fire.
That's a really good one.
Yeah. Blue sapphire crystal case, bracelet, skeletonized with sapphire blue stones throughout the bezel and used for the indexes. I thought it was a heater. The J12 is a watch that has been, for the most part, really popular with women. But we do know some guys that own J12s. It is a unisex watch. Mm-hmm. I think we're past the point of gendering watches. But this version of the J12, and they did a whole run of like blue watches with blue sapphire stones. But the X-ray version I thought was just like super dope.
Yeah. I mean, also too, like when you look at that display, like even the name, like the X-ray, it was like super like futuristic.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was kind of like, it was hard for me to choose because, I mean, when what you get in a gem set watch is what you get in a gem set watch. I feel like, it's just like, it's blingy. It's like you're showing your wealth. This was definitely.
That's why I thought the Chanel J12 was like really, really tight because it was like, it had these beautiful stones throughout the watch, but it wasn't just about that.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like there was a lot more thoughtfulness that went into the design of this piece.
No, I have to agree. I mean, now that you put it that way, I mean.
It also made me really like the watch. The J12 is not a watch that I was like crazy about.
Yeah.
It was kind of always like, that's cool.
Yeah.
But like when I saw this one, I was like, this is fire.
Of course, too, because like to your point, moving past like gender and watches, the J12 at one point kind of, you thought of it as a woman's watch.
Yeah.
And now this kind of adds like a little bit more of like a masculine kind of touch.
Feels high fashion.
Very, very high fashion.
Yeah.
I got to double down with you on that.
Okay, so we doubled down there.
Yes.
We have a Rookie of the Year category.
Yes. I'm excited for this one.
Please.
I had to go with our good friends at Melb.
Sure, okay.
And I went with Altlint's, the Retrovision 85.
Megatron.
The Megatron.
Yeah.
It reminded me of 1985 and definitely sitting down with Cedric and kind of seeing how his mind ticks. I'm thinking 1985 or even like, early 90s, like cartoons. I'm thinking Toonami. I'm thinking Gundam. I'm thinking so many of those like cool Japanese cartoons that came into the U.S. market, and you'd watch them on Saturdays on like Cartoon Network. It just reminded me so much of that, and so kind of having that interactive play with the watch to be able to take it off of the stand or its base and then open it up and it can be a stand and you have the tourbillon in the center. It just reminded me of like 1980s cartoons.
Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
I love Artlance. I think it's a cool brand making funky watches, art pieces, etc. Kind of like a really great brand between art and engineering.
Yes.
And though they've been around for a while, it feels like they're new.
Yes.
Because since the Melb organization, who owns Moser, has purchased them, there's a lot of the spirit that they have as an organization that's now kind of infused into Artlance, which I'm really enjoying. And we actually got to handle that piece, which was pretty tight.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. I just look at it as like, you know what? It's an expensive toy.
Yes.
But what are watches?
Expensive toys.
Expensive toys. So for Rookie of the Year, I selected our friends over at Cross Studios.
Yes.
Shout out to Marco and his wife Stephanie with the MT1.
Yes.
And so if you're familiar with Cross Studios, their whole thing is they do these collaborative timepieces with these kind of big like blockbuster companies. So they work with like Marvel, they work with DC, Warner Brothers. They've done watches for like the Game of Thrones series, Star Wars, etc. And but if you know their watches, you know their thing is the central tourbillon.
Yes.
That's like the floating central tourbillon. And so this was kind of a surprise because this was sort of the reduction of that, right? And they took the tourbillon, which is a complication that Marco loves, and they baked it into the architecture of the watch at 6 o'clock. And so what they've done is they reduced the thickness of the timepiece. You still have a domed crystal, but it's not as exaggerated. And they've also inserted a very large, oversized barrel, giving you an amazing 7-day power reserve. And so what you have, again, with a watch that has no crown, you wind it from the back. And then there's a button on the side, I think like maybe 3 or 4 o'clock that you press. And when you wind it, you can adjust and set the time as well. But what you have is a watch that looks kind of steampunk.
Yes.
But also with the round edges, that's kind of like very oval, something that's also refined and balanced.
Yes.
Right? Kind of reminds me of the Kodo Grand Seiko Constant Force. But there's also a little Ikepod influence there. It's like a flying saucer.
Yes.
The other thing that I thought was really cool was the case back was inspired sort of by like the like Japanese gardens. And so if you can imagine like, you go into someone's office and they have like the motorized Japanese gardens with the marble that kind of runs around and makes they have like a print on the back that kind of resembles that. And so it's like a really nice conversation between like, the mechanized and like the natural.
Yes.
The serene and sort of like the ostentatious.
Yes.
And what I love about Cross Studios is, to me, that's kind of what they're all about. They're about like a blending or a convergence of like ideas. And I thought Marco hit it out of the park. I'm a big fan of his watches. I think Cross Studios makes amazing timepieces. And I look at this as something that is maybe not necessarily entry level, but entry level in terms of more digestible for a wider audience.
Yes.
That might be having a hard time with the floating central tourbillon. It's like, here's a nice medium. You get our aesthetic, you get what we're all about, our design principles and sensibilities, but in something that is easily digestible for you. And so he's done the work for the audience. And so I want to give them Rookie of the Year because they had a great section in Palexpo too. I think their booth was pretty busy. He also did a keynote while he was there, and we got to party with them also at Watchmakers United.
Yeah.
Shout out to those guys, but definitely want to give them that. So
Yes.
I think we're down to our final category.
Yeah.
So best in show. So best in show is what we feel is the best watch, our personal favorite. So there's no way to like prove that this is the best watch. This is just the watch that had the biggest impact on us. If we could leave with any one timepiece from the show after everything we've seen, this is what we would leave with.
Yes.
What was that for you?
I would say that is the Vacheron Constantin Ultra Complication.
Really?
The reason why I say that
41 comps.
41 complications. And I think the reason why I say that is because if I chose my watch of the year last year, it was the Eternal Calendar.
Okay.
So I love the idea of kind of playing with time and eternity and like the watch actually living beyond you, because this watch actually will. To have 41 complications in a wristwatch, I think is extremely impressive, especially them doubling down, right? Because they made the most complicated kind of like
Pocket watch that you couldn't fit in your pocket.
exactly. So then they go ahead and say, okay, so you guys had a problem with that. I'm gonna punch this thing into a wristwatch. And so I think it might not have been like the absolute best, but it had the best impact on me.
Okay.
But if it were to be the watch that I could leave with, I'd say yes, because it is kind of assumed to be worth $3 million.
Okay. Sure.
So if I can leave with a
money
watch
play.
for $3 million, I think I would.
I thought it was a cool timepiece. I think it's great that Vacheron is kind of exhibiting their watchmaking muscles and flexing in this way. You know, though the watch community considers them part of the Holy Trinity, it does kind of feel like they get left in the shadows of AP and Patek. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, if that's the game that these brands are playing and you want to talk about like who really makes watches and can do comps, you got to give it to Vacheron, especially coming back, you know, back to back 2 years in a row. Mm-hmm. First with the Hamburglar pocket watch, and now with a watch that is the most complicated wristwatch that you probably could actually wear on your wrist.
Yes.
I mean, it'd take you 3 days to set, but it's actually pretty wearable.
Yes.
And so that was very impressive. And listen, it for all intents and purposes, it was a pretty handsome watch. Design wise, it was cool.
Yeah.
It was cool to look at.
Yeah, especially when you like flip it over and you kind of have
it was
that,
pretty dope.
that display. It looks like you're like gazing into space.
Yeah. My choice for best watch, and I thought about this a lot, but I was really like into this from the moment that it released and I saw it, and I got to see it in the window at Palexpo because we aren't there yet to get invited into Patek. Maybe one day. Or maybe not. Maybe Terry knows who we are and he's like, those guys never come in. But I really did enjoy the 6196P. Oof. And it made me feel, it gave me all the feels about like what I love about watches in general. Simple.
Yeah.
3-handed watch, you know, technically because you got a sub-seconds at 6 o'clock. Platinum case, 38 millimeter, salmon dial, manually wound.
Yes.
It gave me all the vintage feels that I enjoy in, you know, having collected and handled vintage timepieces. Yeah. And I just thought it was beautiful. It was, I think, probably the best Calatrava Patek's released, like as far as I can remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I enjoy the 61 19G and R. I think those are nice with the hobnail bezel. Mm-hmm. I mean, especially the G. I really love that watch.
Yeah.
But this one, you know, the salmon was so salmon, but with the platinum.
Yeah. And
sort of like the high polished platinum case made it feel almost tropical.
Yeah.
In a way. It felt like less salmon, more patinaed.
Yeah.
And it was just incredibly warm. And I was just like, man, that is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I could leave with any watch, it would be that. Also, the price is crazy. $47,000.
I have to say,
it's an expensive Calatrava.
I was gonna say, to your point, I feel like that's a watch when you're in whatever kind of circles you're like, stop playing with me.
Yeah, it's good.
It's like
It's very, very good.
This is a different league, fellas.
Yeah, it's very, very good.
Yeah, I have to agree.
I'm curious to see how it performs. I assume that a lot of people are going to go for it, and then it's always interesting to see what happens when watches hit the secondary market. They all do, and it will.
Yeah.
In due time. So, maybe it goes at a premium. Maybe it'll be a new watch alert in a couple of months to a year. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll wait and see. I would like to give an honorable mention to IWC.
Yes.
The several new N.O.R.E pieces that they released were pretty fire.
Yeah.
There's a steel green dial version that was dope. They did a rose gold that was awesome. The steel blue dial perpetual calendar was great.
Fire.
And they even did a ceramic piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
Shout out to those guys. That's all I got.
That's it for me.
Well, this was a lot of fun. This has been another episode of Wrist Check Podcast. And we have so we were filming out there. So there's a new episode of Transmission coming at you very soon. And you'll be able to see sort of what our journeys were like. We got a host of characters and people that we sat down with and either shared meals or, some really good conversation with. And we hope that you'll enjoy that. And, you know where to find us. YouTube, Spotify, wristcheckpod.com, superniche.com.
Yeah.
Maybe one day
In the metaverse.
The online store is open. We've got some super niche hats up there now. Check those out. There'll be some more merch dropping very soon, including these hats that we made for the Geneva trip. And we'll see you in a week. Deuces.
Peace.